Hey, everybody, this is Eddy Foster with Lone Star Home Mortgage, and we're here with Real Talk with Eddy Foster. And I wanted to introduce you guys to an agent here in DFW. His name is HHayes. He's with Remax Trinity in South Lake. And, him and I are just going to sit back, have a little talk today about what's going on in the market and kind of what the temperament is. So, Harry, if you don't mind, introduce yourself and tell us a little about you.
All right, I'm Harry Hayes. Been in the real estate market a few years now. Actually, what I'm from is the retail management side. Had 14 years in that, and retired. And I needed to do something a little different, so I started a travel agency. Yeah, that wasn't the smartest move in the world, but we had the great shutdown, and I decided I needed to do something different. So I went to real estate school, got licensed, and here I am today. I was fortunate enough to be brokered through Remax Trinity in South Lake, Texas. And I'm fortunate enough to have partners like Eddy Foster from Lone Star Mortgages actually there to help things along.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Harry, we're kind of in a weird market. It's quite different than it was a year ago or even 6 months ago. So, I kind of want to give a little temperament feeling as to, kind of explaining the difference in the market, the way that you see it as a real estate professional, kind of where it was a year ago, what was going on, or and bring us up to what's happening today, what you're seeing.
Well, a year ago at this time, it was absolute pandemic chaos. I mean, we were running from appointment to appointment, had multiple offers on multiple houses. Um, the average was, you'd put 3 or 4 offers in on a home, and you're fortunate or grateful to get one. And today
Yeah.
it's kind of done a 180 on us, Eddy.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I'll tell you, as a loan officer, I agree with you. I had all these buyers that were out there trying so hard to get a house, and they had done everything right. They had done everything right. They got their credit in line. They had good jobs. They had saved up enough money for down payment. They did everything right, Harry, and they couldn't get a house. They're competing against people that were putting 25, 50, $100,000 over asking price,
Right.
and these poor like first time home buyers, or even not even first time home buyers, but experienced buyers that had bought their second or third home. They just couldn't compete in this market that we were in. I mean, sellers were asking for the world, and it was very difficult. I know that a lot of the agents that I work with, were writing 20, 30, 40 offers before they could even hopefully get a contract. But what we were seeing is that, if and agree with me if I'm correct, or correct me if I'm wrong, is that a lot of the people that were out there that you're working with all of a sudden got behind the eight ball, and they had no choice but to go ahead and rent. They
You're
then they
absolutely
they
right.
they were
You're
moved out of the
absolutely right,
market.
Eddy. What actually towards the end of the I call it the fast paced cycle is people were selling their homes because they wanted that equity that they had built up in there,
Right?
and then there was nothing available for them, or they were being beaten out of the homes that they wanted to purchase.
Yeah.
And the only solution that they had was to become a renter at that point in time. We had people that had owned their home for 15, 20 years, and all of a sudden they had forced to go and lease a home.
Yeah.
And that was difficult for them,
Yeah.
which also created a situation where people that were interested in trying to sell their homes were afraid to, because they're like, what do I do if I can't find another house?
Yeah. Yeah. There was a lot of that too.
Yeah.
Right.
So, everywhere I go today, the first question, as soon as they know that I'm a realtor or they see the signs on my car, the first thing they ask me is, what's the market doing? And I say to them, I wish I had a crystal ball because it changes daily.
You're right. And if we did, I don't know if we'd be doing what we're doing now if we had that crystal
Absolutely.
ball.
Yeah. Yeah. We'd probably be on some tropical island somewhere, just
Someplace, yeah, drinking a
kicking back and soaking up the
pina
sun.
colada. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Well, I'll tell you on the mortgage side, kind of bringing in from what I'm seeing, not so much today, because I think we've had a little bit of time under our belt of what's been going on for this to become almost like the new norm. But what I'll describe is what I've experienced, over the last year, and also the mentality that goes along with it, or that seems to have went along with it. A year ago, we were sitting at 3% interest rates, right? And we were experiencing all the same issues that you were talking about with the offers and, all of those things. But nevertheless, we had a bunch of people that were in the market, that were getting qualified at a 3% interest rate, right?
Right.
So here we come, and let's use for an example, the client that you may have had that decided, what, I've got to get my family. We can't stay in this house any longer. We've got to move. We couldn't get a contract, so we're going to go rent and take a lease house for 12 months, or we're going to rent an apartment for 12 months. Well,
Right.
here they are. We're 12 months later, right? They're coming out. Their leases are getting ready to expire, and they want to get back in the market and find a house for their family.
Right.
What they're experiencing is last year they may have been qualified for 400 or $500,000, or let's just say $350,000, right? A first time home buyer that they were qualified at a 3% rate. And they get back in and they give HHayes a call and they say, Harry, we're coming back in the market. Our lease expires at the end of November. Can you get us into a home? And you say, absolutely, I'm happy to help you, but call Eddy and let's go get pre-qualified again and see where you're at.
That's what I
And
tell them.
and in their mind, we ended where it was last year at 3%, and they were qualified. And now Eddy has to break the news to them that they no longer qualify for that $400,000 house,
Right.
right? Or maybe they only qualify for 270 now because of the interest rates. And then we call Harry back up and say, Harry, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, they only qualify for 250 or 275. What's out there for 250, 275?
There's not a lot, Eddy. There are a few out there, mainly in the outlying areas. The farther you get away from the hustle and bustle of the Dallas-Fort Worth market, there are houses out there for the 250 to 300, 350. But as you're like in the Metroplex area, the Kellers, the Colleyvilles, they're still up $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 for those homes. And like you said, they no longer can qualify to buy one of those.
Right.
And that's the sad part about it, is it's such a sticker shock or a culture shock is what it really is.
Right.
Because they were accustomed to living in a nice neighborhood, not too far away from the city, close to everything. And now they're having to drive, 30, 40, 50 minutes to get to those same locations that were just literally down the street when they sold their home.
Yeah, yeah. I've seen a lot of that. Some of them willingly want to move out further and stuff, but most of them still want to stay where their kids were in school or wherever. And it's become almost unfeasible with the increase of taxes and everything else. Not to mention, if we look at where the rates were last year and we look where the rates are now, and we'll just use $400,000 as an example, that $400,000 then versus now is about $1,000 more per month for the same house.
Right.
So that's where the sticker shock comes in, and going back to where I was saying the mentality or the perception of some of the people that we're dealing with, it is absolute sticker shock for someone to be like, well, I can't afford, last year it was $2,800 a month. This year it's $3,800 a month. I can't afford $3,800 a month for a house payment. And that's where things are. So we've been dealing on the mortgage side with that whole sticker shock of that. And I think that's kind of wearing off a little bit because it is what it is, right? I mean,
Right.
the rates are what they are. There's nothing we
And
can
they're
do
not,
about it
yeah.
at this point in time, and it's become the new norm. So I personally am seeing a shift of buyers that are coming in and they're okay with the rates because they assume, oh, when they come down, I'm just going to refinance. I'm not worried about the rate today. I love the house. I'm going to refinance when the rates
Right.
come down. What are you seeing on the real estate side once the buyers are qualified? I mean, I deal with a whole different type of perception or an emotion on my end than you deal with your end. So what are you seeing when these people are coming to you and they're actually a real buyer? They want to, they're in the market and you're out showing them homes.
Well,
What's
that's
going
the
on
one
with that?
thing that we try to share with the people is don't worry about the interest rate right now. Yeah, it's on an incline, but okay, 6 months, a year down the road, we can if the rates drop, we can come back and refinance that and get it down to a lower rate, and your payment will drop accordingly. But
Right,
what we don't do is don't wait.
right,
One of the
right,
worst things that you can do right now is wait
right.
because
And
it's not going to go down right now. It's going to go up continually.
well, the other thing that's going to go up, even though that the market has leveled off from where it was 6 months or a year ago, as far as the sales prices, even though that has cooled off and leveled off, and people are not offering $50,000, $100,000 over asking price anymore, or at least not nearly as often. But the reality of it is the prices of the homes, they're still going to continue to appreciate. Maybe
Right.
not at the level that we've seen, but they're still going to appreciate at a level. So, what I try to explain to people when we're going through the numbers is I'll do the numbers based off of where the rate is, where the sales price is today. Okay. And I'll do those numbers. Then I'll ask them, give me an interest rate. Let's say the drop down to 5%. Are you good with 5%? And they may say, yes, I am, or how about 4.5? And I'll do the numbers at 4.5, but then I'll do a 2 year down the road and say, okay, well, that $450,000 house now that you wanted to buy 2.5 years ago is now 525, maybe 550. So
Right.
then I'll do the numbers on that. And I can tell you, Harry, that the numbers always work out in their favor if they would have bought today.
Right.
Always.
And
Not to mention the payment because now they can refinance, but their equity position.
right.
It's just a no-brainer.
The homes are still going to appreciate. They're
Right.
still going to gain value. Real estate is probably one of the safer investments that is out there in our world today. One of the things that I people are like, oh my gosh, I can't afford it. I can't afford it. And I said, I'm going to tell you one thing. If you think that renting is cheaper, it's not because you
Right.
lose your tax advantages. And then also, you're just taking that money and you're just literally throwing it out the window. You're losing all of that investment potential. You're losing
Right.
any equity that you might build in the home if you bought today.
That's true.
So, yes, things are going up, prices are changing. It's life. It's done it for decades.
Right.
What we're doing is we're going through a different snapshot of what life looks like now.
Right.
You know,
Well, and I think a portion of that is, especially in the DFW market, is that we've got approximately 1,000 people a day moving into Texas.
yes, they're still
Um,
coming. Yeah,
Yeah,
they're still
yeah, they're
coming.
still coming. They're going to be coming no matter what. I mean, industries are coming, and of all the industries that we hear coming here, we hear the big boys, right? We hear the Toyotas of the world and stuff like that,
Like
and they're going to
Travelers
set up
Insurance.
headquarters.
I mean, Exxon
Right.
Mobil.
What we don't necessarily hear about are all the little smaller companies that are reliant on them that
Right,
are also going to move with them,
right. The
right?
little feeder companies.
That's right. The little feeder companies that are also relocating because they're the mother company. They're the feeder.
Right.
The food to them. We've got those, and then we've got the people in some other states that because of the taxes or way of life or whatever it may be that are wanting to relocate their families down here hopefully a better way of life or a more stable way of life. Texas has always been one of the most stable real estate markets in the country. We may not be going straight up like sometimes you see other states do. We don't crash like in 2008 as bad as anybody else. We have some volatility, but for the most part, is one of the most stable, historically been one of the most stable real estate markets in the country.
Yeah, you're right, Eddie. I just read an article here a couple days ago where they said that Texas is like number 2 or number 3 in the U.S. On stable markets, and that's one of the caveats that's attracting so many businesses, which brings
Right.
the people with them. Their employees are following them.
Well, and here's something else that I heard, and I never even thought about this as far as companies moving here. There's so many analytics now that are built into big corporations' bottom line, right?
Right.
And things that people don't even think about. Yes, we don't have any state tax here. Yes, there's a lot of different benefits, but the one or multiple analytics that we don't build into this. Texas as a whole, or especially North Texas, we're not destroyed by hurricanes,
No.
right? We're not destroyed by hurricanes. We're not destroyed by earthquakes. We don't have Mother Nature that's given us the downtime, like let's say what just happened in
Just
Florida.
out in Florida. Yeah.
That's right. So you're talking about man-hour work days or sick days or out of work days, paid days that companies don't have to absorb here in Texas. They're more profitable. They can be more efficient. There's a lot of different analytics that build into not only tax breaks or whatever, but efficiency and profitability in companies by having their headquarters here in Texas.
Right.
I never even thought about that kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
Having more face time with their associates, with their clients and their customer service people is paramount to their business. And this affords them that because we don't have those catastrophic effects in our environment here. Do we get snow? Yeah. And it lasts for about 24 hours. And then it's gone.
Well, I come from Michigan where, there's preparation there for a couple of, if they have a snowstorm in the forecast, they're already prepping 24, 48 hours ahead of time.
Yeah.
Here, there's nothing. It's in the forecast and the world shuts down. They cancel schools just because it's in the forecast.
It's in the forecast. Absolutely. The thing of it is when it does happen, you just sit back for 24 hours and it goes away, and you start, all over again. So the reset button is the timeline is very frequent. So
right.
So and that's what I see that a lot of corporations are looking at going, hey, where do we relocate it? We're going to be spending, I don't know, $300 or $400 million to relocate our business. Where are we going to go? We're going to get the biggest bang for our buck.
Right.
Texas.
That's right. Texas.
Right. So and there's a lot of territory here. They haven't even really tapped our infrastructure. There's a lot of places that you can build. There's a lot of infrastructure, and they're continuing to add on to that. So it's a great place to come. It's a great place to raise your family. I came here from Las Vegas 27 years ago, and it was the best decision I ever made.
Yeah. My time is right at about, I guess it's 27 years as well. In 1995, I came from Detroit. So, and it was the best decision I ever made.
Yeah.
So, I love the people here. Texas is just a great place to raise
a
family and to be. The people are wonderful.
The people are open-armed about welcoming you into the community.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
That's one of the things that I think I was shocked at one point was when I first got here. I'm going, oh my goodness, I'm going to this, southern part of the country, and what's it going to be like? Is it going to be, cowboys and cowgirls, or what's going on? And when I got here, I'm like, they're no different than me.
No, just sunshine and happy faces.
Yeah.
That's about it.
And that the sunshine creates happy faces,
This is very
and
true.
that creates an open heart. They welcome people in. So
Yes,
yeah,
they
I'm
do.
glad to be part of Texas at this point in time.
Yeah,
So
likewise. Well, Harry, what do you think if you did have a projection as we get into 2023? What do you think? What do you anticipate?
well, I'm hoping that some of the volatility will stabilize because it's scaring the life out of people. They're afraid to make a decision, regardless of people like me and you talking to them about, look, we can always come back and revisit this. They're worried about right now, today. What's
Yeah,
the impact on me today? Everything is going up. I only have an X amount of cash to spend. I only have X amount of dollars I earn over a 30-day period. So, you know, I have to make a decision. Do I buy a house? Do I rent a house? The thing of it is buying or renting, they're the same thing because rent is going up. Right
right.
now, rental homes, um, they're getting harder and harder to find. We have a lot of new and pre-owned homes in inventory today. We have new home builders all over the Metroplex. We have plenty of inventory of existing homes all over the Metroplex. Uh, if we look at how much inventory we had even 6 weeks ago, it was getting down to the bare minimum. I mean, the houses are going that quick. And
Wow.
now they're staying on the market, 10, 15, 20 days. So you got a chance to look at the house, make a decision, put an offer in, and you don't have to worry about getting kicked out or someone coming along and sucking it right up. And that's what
Yeah,
was really frustrating for a lot of people, especially I really felt sorry for the first time home buyers because they
yeah,
were
I
so
did. I
excited
did
to get
too. I did too. It didn't even stand a chance.
Nope.
It was so sad. They didn't even stand a chance. And FHA sellers were not accepting FHA or VA offers very
Right.
often. It was really sad, and I love working with first time home buyers. They're my favorite. I love the whole process. They're scared, they're nervous, they're excited. They work hard. I love the whole process with first time home buyers. I'm a big proponent of holding their hand and all that stuff. So, I it really broke my heart over the last couple of years of them. Excuse me, them not really being able to stand a chance.
Right. Well,
Luckily, some of them were able to get some help by some family members, and be able to compete. But for the most part, it was very difficult. Yeah, that
yeah,
was sad.
we would talk to them about getting a family gift or something like that, or
Yeah,
does
yeah,
mom and dad or aunt and uncle or grandma and grandpa have an inheritance that they plan on giving you? Well, can they
yeah,
give you a portion of it right now to get you in their home?
yeah. That's
So
a great idea.
we used anything and everything to try to get those folks the home that they wanted.
Yeah,
Now we can breathe a little easier and we can get those people into the home that they want without having to uh, having to fight off. And what we did is we had large corporations coming in and sucking these homes up too.
yeah, yeah. And they changed all the rules back in March, as it pertained to investors and all that stuff, because it was just getting flooded, with
Yes,
investors coming in. And you know guidelines change all the time, interest rates change all the time. And for those of you that may be watching this, listen to this, interest rates change daily, sometimes two, three, four times a day. And there's locking in an interest rate is in this market is very, very key. I would not recommend to anybody to play the market and hope that they're going to gain an eighth of a percent lower in rate, because I've seen it, Harry, where just even a few weeks ago, the market closed on Friday night. The market opened Monday morning, and there was a 0.5% increase in interest rate over the weekend that wasn't even open,
right.
right?
And nobody could have seen that coming. There's
Nobody could
nobody
see
in the
it
world could
coming.
see.
And anybody who would have floated, their payment just went up over $100 a month over the weekend.
Right.
And I can also encourage anybody who may be watching this, any real estate agents that will watch this, or any potential home buyers that'll watch this. If you're dealing with a loan officer or a real estate agent that's encouraging you not to lock, you're getting bad information,
Right.
in my opinion. And I don't know if you agree with that or not, Harry.
I completely agree with it. If you're getting that close to where you're getting ready to put an offer in on a home, you need to be talking to your lender and saying, lock me in.
Yeah,
Because I mean, like you said, a half a point is a lot of money.
it's a lot of money.
It's
I
a
mean,
lot
it
of
may
money.
it may only be $100 a month, which is still significant, but that $100 a month is going to add up to tens of thousands of dollars over the life of the loan.
The life of the loan, right?
You know,
And
and that's
so,
what we're looking at.
I was just talking with a client yesterday, and she was like, I need to lease. And I kind of walked through the leases that she was interested in the area. And I just asked her, I said, this is what these houses are leasing at. I said, realistically, why would you lease a home and not have any equity in it, not have any benefit to you for the same amount of money that you would pay if you could buy that home?
Right.
And I said, why don't we? It doesn't cost anything to check.
Right.
Why don't we take an hour of our time? Let's invest it and let's see what you can actually buy. And then what we'll do is we'll go and we'll look. And there are homes out there that are affordable, and they're not downtown Fort Worth or near downtown Fort Worth. They're in the suburbs, and some of them are outlying suburbs, but they're still great communities. And the great thing about what's happened in the last couple of years is a lot of those outlying communities where it was just, a couple of cows and a horse have actually put some infrastructure in out there. They
Now
have
they're booming communities.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're really booming little towns.
Yeah, I know.
And if you're fortunate enough to get into a little town not far from the Dallas Fort Worth metroplex, it can be a good thing
Yeah,
because
it absolutely can be a good thing.
the highways now reach out to those areas.
That's right.
You might spend a little more time, a little bit more windshield time, but you're going to get into a community. The schools are getting better out there. And that's what a lot of people with children are really interested in. They want a good school for their children to go to.
That's right.
And that's the first. I mean, that was the second question: is how much are the houses costing, and what's the schools like?
Right.
And what we do is we don't like to recommend schools. We give them the information and let them go and look it up, so that they can find out if that's the appropriate education program for their children.
For them and their family. That's
Yeah.
correct. That's
And
correct.
because I don't want to lead somebody any way that they go out there and go, well, you said that this was a good school system, and I said no, it was a new school system.
Right. Well, what's good for you may not be good for somebody
That's
else,
right.
and it's all a matter of opinion. So,
Yeah,
all you can do is hand over the right information, and somebody make a educated decision based
there
off
you
of
go.
that.
That's what we are. Is we are tour guides and educators. We give you the facts, we give you the information, so that you can make a smart choice for you and your family.
That's
And
right.
what we do is the relationship that I have with my title companies and my loan, and I want people to be able to get the same kind of education and guidance, and that's what we're here today. We're talking about an informed buyer is the smartest buyer that you can have.
That's right. That's right. And that's what we try to do. We try to make everybody educated and informed, and then give them the tools to be able to make an educated decision. And
Right.
you can't ask for more than that.
You know,
Harry, there was one thing that I get asked a lot, and I know that you lived through it. Now, as a real estate agent, are in this kind of change of a market. Um, but I'm sure you lived through the 2008. era where the housing market crashed. You had
I
lots of
did.
friends that were involved. Me personally, I was in the front lines of it, being in the mortgage business. Um, I'll tell you, why don't you give me your opinion? We'll close this thing up with this, but why don't you give me your opinion of the differences in what you see, and then I'll give you my opinion, and then we'll call it the day, and hopefully everybody got some good food for facts
Right.
on
I was in a completely different industry at that time, Eddie. I was in the building supply material,
okay.
and so I seen that aspect of it. The materials actually at one point became very expensive, very difficult to get a hold of. It was a supply and demand, a lot of ebb and tide going on there. And then unfortunately, um, it hit rock bottom.
Okay.
And what happened, from what my standpoint is I think there wasn't a lot of people out there like there are today in the mortgage and the real estate business that were really interested in educating their people. They were more interested in selling a product or getting a product sold, and they really didn't educate the people about what the risks were with some of the stuff that were out there.
I agree
And
with
that's
you.
what I see.
I agree with you. Well, I'll tell you what, had been in the business back then, I would agree with you on, number one, people were not educated. Number two, as a mortgage professional, one thing, especially I'm a mortgage broker, I'm not a mortgage banker, right? So I'm able to do business with anybody out there. Like mostly, I do business with the major wholesale lenders of the world that a consumer cannot call them or walk through the door and get a loan from them. They have to go through someone like myself,
Right.
and
But you
and
still
I'm
have a
able.
full menu. You
Pardon
still have
me.
a full menu of
Yes.
suppliers that you can tap into for specific situations about buyers
Specific
and customers.
situations. That's correct. And what they did back then, especially the big banks, the Washington Mutuals, the Bank of Americas, and they came up with all these crazy programs, stated incomes that you know literally, if you could fog a mirror, you could get a loan. If you had a 580 credit score, you could have no income, no asset, no job, no money. You'd get 100% loan if you had
Right.
a heartbeat. And I mean, yeah, you can't see anything bad happening there, right? I mean, my God.
No, it's
Yeah.
yeah.
So those were a lot of the programs. And on top of that, they were assigning prepayment penalties to a lot of programs. So these people would get into them, the rate would change on them because most of them were adjustable rates and they couldn't refinance. And even if they sold it, then they had this astronomical prepayment penalty that they couldn't afford to pay. And this just escalated to where so many people just couldn't even afford to stay there and they weren't going to pay the penalty. So I was like, hey, I'm just going to walk away. Right.
Right.
And that was the situation that so many people were upside down, or for one reason or another, or they just weren't a real qualified buyer. And they just said, hey, forget it. I'm not paying for this thing.
Right.
And that was the climate that we were in. Right. Today, we don't have this. And we've got so much equity in the homes today that if somebody does come in harm's way, God willing, that doesn't happen. We don't enter into something like that. But if, let's just say that they do, a death in the family, a loss of a job, something that creates hardship in the family, there's enough equity in these homes today to where even if they sell it at a lower sales price, they've still got a lot of equity in these homes to where the foreclosure fallout is very, very, very unlikely. And we don't
Right.
have those crazy programs anymore. Nobody's doing them. There's no 100% loans unless you're a veteran. There's no, stated income loans. There's none of that stuff that's out there anymore. Now, hopefully we've learned from 2008 that, we need to have a qualified buyer. We have to have somewhat fair credit scores. You've got to have some skin in the game, a little bit of money that you put up.
Right.
There are some programs that are going to help people get into a home if needed. But for the most part, you have to be a qualified individual. So, I think there's a big difference between 2008 and then today from the market that we're in. Even though we're all seeing some struggles and we're seeing a change in the market, I think they're two complete different markets. They're not even close to being related.
When I was walking through the MLS yesterday, I found a half a dozen homes where the owner of the home, they're motivated, they need to sell, they need to get out, and they were willing to pay a portion of the closing costs
Sure.
to the buyer. And 8 weeks ago, that wasn't the case.
Was not the case.
They weren't fixing anything.
Right.
If it was broke, you fixed it.
Right.
Now
They're
they're
not fixing
fixing
it.
things and they're giving money towards closing costs.
Which honestly is more of a normal market.
Yes, it is.
It's more of a normal market. That's not a market that's failing. It's not a market that's sinking. What we're seeing today is negotiations. And we're
that's
seeing
what it needs to be. Yes.
That's right. We're seeing a win-win. You're selling your house for the money that you want. We're buying your house. That's going to help us get into it. It's a win-win for everybody. That's a very successful real estate market.
It is.
And we're leaning much more towards that as we sit here.
And it's a much more palatable for your first-time buyers. It's not so volatile that they feel like they're getting beat up. That's what I was telling the person yesterday. I said, there's programs out there that are available, but some of our sellers are wanting out of these homes because they're moving on with their life. They're downsizing, they're relocating, whatever it is that they're trying to accomplish. They could be empty nesters and don't need a 5-bedroom home anymore.
Right.
So whatever the reason, they're willing to give you a little extra and fix some things that they normally wouldn't have as little as 6 to 8 weeks ago.
Right.
And that's a good thing for you.
That's a good thing. So Harry, I've got one thing to say to the community that may be watching this. If you are one of those people, a buyer or a seller that is looking to jump into the market and buy something, or if you're a seller that's needing representation, that's going to guide you through that process, hold your hand and get you the most value for your house, who do they need to call?
They need to call me, and I will take care of them like their family.
Okay, well, let's give your contact information so everybody hears it.
Okay, my phone number, and this is my direct phone number, is 214-507-0595. And if you don't want to call and you want to email, my email address is HHayes, it's HAYES, at Remax.net.
All right.
And I would love to help you and guide you through this purchasing or selling process.
Great. And I know that you'll take care of them. Harry, I thank you so much for this time today. And I know you're busy.
Yeah, I know you're a busy man.
Well, we're all busy these days, but at the same time, I am very grateful for not only our business, not only your time, but for your friendship. And I look forward to doing many future deals with you as well. I hope you close out 2022 with great success. And, I hope everybody enjoyed watching and only wish you the best.
Yep. Stay tuned for more.
All right. You got it. Harry,
Eddie, thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Bye-bye now.
Bye. Have a great day, everybody.